Everyone, welcome back to our channel. Today we're going live and we're going to be talking about 4 ways that you can keep your faith stronger while going into college. And if you're watching this back on the playback, there will be the first comment that's pinned in the comment section below. We'll skip you past all the kind of live stream stuff like the shout outs and just waiting for people to populate here on the live stream. So if you want to skip ahead to the video content, you can check out that pinned comment below. Oh, sorry, I gotta adjust something. All right, cool. Hello, everyone. What's up? Welcome to our video today. I am just editing the video that's going to be going live later today, finishing the processing of all that kind of stuff. So that will be going live in just a little bit, but it's good to see you guys all. If you are here joining me for the very first time, my name is Justin, and you're watching a channel called That Christian Vlogger, where we talk about issues of faith and Christianity and all that kind of good stuff. You know, every Monday and Thursday. So it's good to see you guys here. If you're watching in the live stream, go ahead and let me know where you are watching from, so I can say what's up and give you guys a little shout out, as well as give this video a thumbs up if you're excited for what we're going to be talking about today. Like I said earlier, today we're going to be talking about kind of how to keep your faith strong as you are in college. I know a lot of people are worried about that, you know, especially if you're going into a public university or something like that. This whole attack on Christianity is something that we hear a lot about. And if you've ever gone to a secular university, which I haven't, I know that some people who have done that before have said that it can be kind of a challenge. So let me know where you're watching the live stream from. We'll give a couple shout outs. Good to see you guys all here. Summer and her Natural Hair Sisters is watching from New York. Good to see you. You're the first one to comment in. Hello to Janessa Tosh. Hello to Jared Haywood. He's excited for our topic for today. And Sophia, Janessa's watching from Nova Scotia. I got Joshua here in Oregon, not too far. Hopefully you enjoyed the eclipse there, Joshua. I was watching the eclipse earlier, and actually it wasn't all that impressive. I'm going to move my tripod just a little bit so I'm not shooting so high. Let's see if that makes a bigger mistake. Yeah, that was a mistake. Let's see, how do I fix this? Maybe like that. There you go. All right, we got people from the UK. Pronto is watching from South Africa. My dearest Potato from the UK. Good to see you guys. We got Benedict from Germany. Hello to Germany. Good to see you guys. And then Diana from Romania again. Going to be heading into college this October. Ben says they got the partial total eclipse in Washington. Very cool. Awesome. Very cool. All right, guys, so let's talk about keeping our faith strong in college. I'm curious how old some of you guys are, if you guys are transitioning into college for the very first time, or if you're going back to college or something along those lines. I see a lot of you guys are saying that you're going to university or college in the next couple of weeks. Great, that's why I wanted to talk about that. Okay, so let's go. Today I want to share with you guys 4 ways that you can have a strong faith even while in college. Now, the very first thing that I want to say is very practical, but it's something that we miss a lot. And number 1 is the importance of a strong church community. Now, obviously, this makes sense, but you need to have a strong church community. Many of us, when we go to college, we leave kind of our home, we leave our family, our friends, and we end up going to another state. We end up going to another, maybe even country if you're studying abroad. And it's hard to get plugged in. So what I would say is, before you end up going to college, keep in mind that you're going to be trying to find a good church community. So before you even go to college, like you got accepted, that's great. But before you even physically move there, you go to your first day of college, I would challenge you to do some research as far as the best churches in the area. Chances are, is if you don't already have a church in mind, you're going to end up missing out on that experience for yourself. And so one thing that I would say is do your homework, do your research. What are the best churches in that local area? And try and reach out to them. If you can even be as lucky as to be able to contact the local church pastor and to be able to introduce yourself and say, hey, I'm going to be going to this university. I'm going to be studying whatever, and I want to get connected. I want to get plugged in at the local church. Is there any way for me to meet up with you, do a coffee or something along those lines? But find a church before you move to your new location at the very beginning, and that way you can get plugged in right away. The second thing that I would say as far as keeping your faith strong is to make sure that you choose your friends strategically. So obviously, when you come to a new place, you may not know very many people, but you want to try and find friends that have similar values, that have similar morals to you. And this just makes sense. Like if you're going to school to be able to play for like a basketball scholarship or something like that, then you need to be able to find other people who find the same hobbies interesting to you, that have the same kind of interests as you. And so when it comes to keeping your faith strong, you want to find a group of other like-minded people that are in that area. One of the best things that I did when I was in college was to be able to join up with like a small Bible study group with a bunch of other college students my age. And that was where I kind of really developed my strong friendships. Of course, I've had other friends that weren't Christians. I had other friends of people that had different interests, but those were kind of like the people that I really kept close to me as my biggest friends. So the third thing that I would say, as far as a practical tip to help you keep your faith strong when it comes to going to a new university or college or something like that, is make sure that you have strong connections back at home. So let's say, for me, I lived in California, and then I went to school in Arizona. And so one thing that I would encourage you to do is to keep ties with some friends or some church members from back at home, and try and reach out to them and connect with them, maybe on like at least every other week or something like that. You can catch up with them, see how their life is going, but then really have an intentional meeting and say, okay, how are you doing in your new environment? Are you adjusting well? And have this person kind of be there for accountability and say, okay, have you been going to church? Have you been serving? Have you been doing Bible studies? Like, how is your faith going? And is there anything that I can actually pray for? And so having a connection with your friends or church members back home will be super, super helpful. The fourth and the last thing that I want to say as far as helping you keep your faith pretty strong is to try to realize that you're there for a reason. And the reason isn't only just so that you can get an education, so you can get a degree, so you can learn new things, but also as a believer in Christ, we know that we are sent out to go and make a difference. So even on your college campus, I want to challenge you to find moments, to find opportunities where you can actually make a difference on your campus. Are there moments where you can actually serve your community? Are there local Christian clubs? Are there local outreach programs? Is there a way that you can make a difference on the college campus that you're serving? So those are the four things that I would say. I'm interested in hearing what your thoughts are. If you're past the college age, or if you're in the middle of college, what are some things that you are doing, or maybe perhaps planning to do to help you maintain your faith, to keep it strong as you're in this new season of life? We've talked about, for me, number one, choosing a church before you arrive on your first day of school. Number two is to choose your friends strategically and to find people that have kind of a similar mindset and worldview as you. Number three is to have an accountability partner back at home. And number four is to actually try and find opportunities to serve at your local local university in your local context. So those are my four tips. I'm interested in hearing from you guys. What are some of your tips to keep your faith strong? I'm gonna check out some of the comments from you guys right here. Paige is asking, out of curiosity, what did I study in school? So when I went to school, I actually studied business marketing. I actually did an online college. So actually, let me rewind. I went to 1 year of school, not really quite sure, knowing what to do. After that, then I ended up going to a Bible college for a few years and graduated from there. But that program was not accredited, so I actually didn't get a degree or anything like that. But after the Bible college, then I went to an online school and got a degree in business marketing. So my bachelor's degree is in business marketing. So yeah. All right, let's see what else. First time going to college, Diana says, 19 years old right now. Pretty exciting, kind of scary, kind of challenging. But for me, when I look back on college was some of like the best time for me. It was a really good growing experience for sure. Celeste is saying, I'm starting school on Tuesday. Okay, so you just got about 24 hours. No, this video will not be uploaded later. I just wanted to kind of go live and just connect with you guys. This one, I'm not planning on it going public. It's just going to be a private video. So while we are live right now, you get it, and then it will disappear. So let's see. Janessa is saying that I'm going into grade 12 and I don't know what to do after high school. Janessa, you're not alone. I think so many of us, when we're in the high school age, we're still trying to figure life out. The video that I'm actually uploading right now, it talks a little bit about, your calling in life. And I've done a handful of videos on that. So hopefully those are helpful or valuable to you guys. Let's see right here. Andrea is saying, what should I do if there's no Christian clubs or groups at my school? Good question, Andrea. That is one of the things that I would really strongly suggest weighing before you go to school. Well, I'm getting Joel saying that the audio is distorted. Is the audio going bad for you guys, or is maybe just on Joel's end? Let me know if the audio is okay for you guys. Don't want to just be talking to nobody. But okay, so you were asking about no Christian clubs or groups. So that's something that I would look into before like choosing which school I'm going to be actually going to. So if you're not going to a Christian university, which is totally cool, there's a lot of people. A lot of you guys are saying that the audio is bad. Let me try and fix this. Give me a second. Let's see, is that better? Is the audio any bit better now? I'll keep talking for a little bit and see if that fixes. Sometimes this phone just doesn't work out so good. It's nice to have the convenience. Okay, audio fixed. Perfect. There you go. Okay, so let me rewind. Sorry about that, guys. Okay, cool. The question was if there's no Christian clubs or anything like that. So again, if you're wanting to keep your faith strong, these are the kinds of the things that you need to think about before actually going to college. So I would do some research. Most times when you are about to go to a college, you kind of interview at the college and you show up in person to kind of tour the campus. I would ask that, are there any local Christian clubs? And if the answer is no, that's something that you got to think about, because you got to realize that there's probably a reason why there aren't any clubs there. So one thing I would say is maybe just rethink if that's the best college, because while your education is important, the Bible talks about, Jesus says, what does it profit a man if he gains the whole world but loses his soul? So find a local group, and even if you end up settling on a college that doesn't have it, then maybe God has sent you there to actually help start that Christian club. So if you don't have one, go out there as you're meeting new people, as you're finding friends, find other Christians, other like-minded people, connect with a local church, and then try and actually start the club yourself. And that's a really great way to do some ministry there, especially if people don't have access to a Christian club quite yet. Good question. All right. How else can I prepare for university and build your faith? I mean, it just comes to spending time in the Word, comes to spending time in fellowship, all the kind of stuff. In the same way that you would build your physical strength, you could build your spiritual strength. So you got to just spend time in the Word, spend time in worship, learning about it. I would certainly suggest that you read some good, what are they called? There's books on apologetics and philosophy. If you're going into kind of more hostile location, like a place where maybe Christians aren't readily accepted, you need to be able to kind of understand why you believe what you believe as well. And so there's some really good books for Christian college students. I'll pull one up right now so I can give you guys the name of it. What's the name of the book? I'm looking on my computer right now. Give me 1 second. Okay, so there's a book by Alex Chidiak called Thriving at College. And it's a pretty good book. I remember reading it when I was in college, and it was pretty helpful. So Thriving at College by Alex Chidiak is a book that I would recommend for that. And if you'd like a free audiobook of it, you can go to audibletrial.com/thatchristianvlogger and get a book for free. So check that out. Let's see. How can I know the right career God wants me to study? Onita is asking. That is a very big question. I think a part of it has to do with, obviously, what is it that you're good at? God could, but I don't think God often calls people to do something that they're terrible at. So what are your skills? What are the areas in school that you're good at? Maybe start there. The second thing that I would really suggest doing is take advantage of people in your local church context. Are there professionals? Are there working people who maybe you have a field of study that you're interested in? So to give you an example, let's say you are interested, this is something my wife did, are you interested in being a nurse? maybe if you are interested in being a nurse, go and find someone in your church community that is a nurse and say, hey, can I shadow you for a day? Can I see what it's like to be a nurse? And see if that's something that I would like to do. And you might say when you go there and as you see it being played out, oh my goodness, this is exactly what I want to do. I could see myself doing this. Start there. Or maybe as you're shadowing them, then you know what happens? You realize, oh my goodness, this is not at all what I would like to do. So one of the things that I did in high school, my dad is a dentist. And I would help him at the office every once in a while. And as I got to assist him in the at the office, I realized very quickly, this is not how I want to spend my life. This is not something that I could see myself doing, for the next 50 years. And so I quickly said, you know what, being a dentist, and I later would decide that being in any type of medicine was not for me. That would not be good or healthy or helpful for me at all. So that's what I would suggest. Tap into your local church community and then try and shadow some people to get a little bit of hands-on experience for yourself. Awesome questions. Positive Vibes Only is asking, do you have to go to church? And if so, how often? So no, you don't have to go to church, but should you go to church is maybe a better question to ask than, do I have to go to church? I would say, I do say actually, that church attendance, or rather physical, like fellowship in person with like-minded believers, is one of the key habits of any successful Christian. Now that can be at church on the weekends, that can be a small group Bible study during the week, it can be in many different forms. But if you are not meeting with fellow believers in person on a consistent, regular basis, then I would say that it's only a short amount of time before you start to lose your faith and things get, not as good. And so, yeah, I would say that you don't have to go to church, but you ought to go to church. At least weekly. The biblical example is of the Sabbath is, you work 6 days, you rest the seventh day. That's your day for fellowship and worship. But certainly more than that is not bad. When I went to college in California, I went to church once a week, but then I was also part of a Bible study twice a week. So I had like a spiritual engagement about 3 different times every single week. And I thought that was healthy for me, and it was good, and it was important for me. And so I would definitely recommend that you consider doing the same. Let's see right here. Checking out other questions. Sabrina's asking, do I have any more college-related videos on your channel? Like defeating Darwinism or anything? Okay, so yeah, I have a lot of other videos on this channel. There's like over 200 different videos, and I think several of them can be related to college, especially in areas of dating, relationship, your personal walk with God. So you can check out the library of videos that I have available there. All right. Paige is asking, oh, this is a solid question. What advice would you give to anyone going to a Bible college? Going to be studying youth ministry and starting classes last week, or you started classes last week and you're excited, but you also have your doubts. Okay, so what I would say is when you're in Bible college, it's both good and challenging in different ways. It's good that you're hanging out with so many other like-minded people. It's great in that you have like a really solid network of other Christians, friends that you can have, but it's also challenging in that it becomes easy to kind of let your faith go on autopilot. If everyone's doing the spiritual thing, it's easy to just be like, okay, I'll do it too, and not really have any convictions of your own. And so I want to challenge you to make sure that your personal relationship with God really thrives in that environment. And that sounds like, oh, of course it's going to thrive. Why wouldn't if I'm at a Bible college? Well, it's actually kind of challenging because when everyone's doing it, it becomes less. Like if you're not being challenged, if you're not like kind of like meeting resistance, it can actually become easy to be complacent in your faith. So I'd be on the lookout for that page if I were you. Let's see. What do you do? B Swan is asking, what do you do when non-Christian friends are saying or doing non-Christian or anti-Christian things? I think just being patient and tolerant with them. I mean, you can't control what they say. You can't control their beliefs necessarily, but you can control whether or not you hang out with them. So you got to value that friendship. Say, is this a friendship that I want to keep or not? And if it is something that you want to keep, then you got to realize that's part of what it means to be a Christian in a non-Christian environment. You got to be loving and tolerant and patient with them and pray for them. And hopefully in seeing your example, they can actually just be able to maybe say, hey, you know what, maybe there's a better way for me to live my life. So, that's what I would suggest. Either seeing if that's a friendship you want to keep in light of that, and if so, then, you got to pray for them and you got to do your best to be patient and loving and kind to them. So that's what I would say. Checking out some of the other things on the other comments here in the live stream. Okay, Diana is asking, do you have any other Christian books about college and how to stay strong in the faith? So if you weren't here earlier, I suggested a book called Thriving at College by Alex Chidiac, which is a good book. And then, let's see, another book that I really enjoyed is called, what's it called? I'm blanking on it now. Tactics by Greg Koukl. Tactics by Greg Koukl. And that's more about how to, in a non-Christian environment, how to tactfully have very good and helpful conversations with non-believers, and how to do it in a way that, doesn't make you look crazy or just like weird or mean, or judgmental like many Christians may come across, and how to do it with tact and love and respect. And I think that's a really good book if you're wanting to know how to interact with non-Christians. So Greg Koukl's book called Tactics. Let's see. Positive vibes only. I'm new to this recently. I've been getting the urge, and I even went to talk to a pastor. It's scary though. Well, it's not hard, but it's hard. It's a hard, okay. But it's hard being not selfish. Yeah, that's true. It is definitely hard. Trying to go to a pastor, especially if you're new to the whole environment, it can be a challenge. So if you're new to the Christian faith and you're wanting to go to church, but you don't know quite where to start, then try and definitely find some of your other Christian friends and ask them to kind of introduce you. So that way it's not so awkward and weird to be like, hey, I was thinking about going to church. I know that you go to church. Would you mind if I came with you one weekend? I think that's a good way to start. Let's see. Let's see. Darian Cornwall. Really good question. Okay, so you attend a public or secular university and you're in a program with a very rigorous course load, but you're struggling to find time to fit in for personal devotions and a Bible study. Any advice? Okay, couple things. First thing is the value of audiobooks and the value of like podcasts that are like have spiritual material. So like, you still have to walk to class, right? You have to commute, or you have to eat lunch, or you have to do whatever. Like those are all moments that you could turn on a really great audiobook, listen to an audio Bible or something like that, and you can still have time for spiritual material throughout your given day. I guarantee you, no matter how hard your course load is, you still got to eat, you still got to like walk around from class to class. Like there's moments that you can sneak away and get a little bit of devotional material in at that time. The second thing that I would suggest is I would challenge you to trust more in what God can do for you than what you can do for yourself. So obviously your studies are important. Obviously you need to get good grades if you want to have a good career in the future and all that different kind of stuff. Like that's all important. But here's what I would challenge you to do, is I would challenge you to set aside one day a week where you don't do any studying at all. For me, that's like the Sabbath. When I was in college, I kept the Sabbath every Saturday, and I wouldn't do any study, even if I needed to, even if I had a test coming up that I wasn't quite prepared to, or if I had an essay or whatever the case is. Because for me, what I was trying to say is, listen, God, I'm carving out the Sabbath, this one day of rest, this one day of communing with you and connecting with you and worshiping with you, because this is something that you've told me that I should do, even though I have other priorities. So what I was saying is like, listen, God, I value my relationship with you more than I valued my success at school. And so what I would say is, you know what? By doing that, I think that God actually helps your study become more effective, becomes more valuable. Because you've been there before, right? You sat and you studied for 4 or 5 hours, and you think, at the end of it all, what did I learn? Man, I didn't learn anything. I didn't retain anything. And yet you've had other moments where you spent maybe just 15 minutes reviewing, and that stuff stuck in your head. So could God work the quote-unquote miracle of helping you to study more effectively in less time? Absolutely. And I think that when you're living your life in an earnest desire to honor him and to really just like dedicate your life to him, I think that that's something that God definitely respects and honors. And so I would challenge you to value your faith more than your success at your university, and to really show that by dedicating that time. So the two things, again, podcast, audiobooks, audio Bibles, those kinds of things. And then number two, just honestly taking that step of faith and saying, God, I value this more than I value everything else. And so I'm going to still do this even when it's hard. Hopefully that helps. Paige, have I ever had a mentor? And how do I approach the question of asking someone to be my mentor? Yes, I have mentors in my life, and only in a few cases has it ever been something formal. You know, you can have a mentor without the person knowing that they are your mentor. Does that make sense? So you can just say, man, I really value this elder at my church. They're really kind, they're really nice, like they have a lot of wisdom, and you know, I feel like I relate to them. You don't necessarily have to approach them and say, hey, will you be my mentor? Though you could, and I think that that's one route that you can go through, and I've done that on a handful of occasions, like that's totally fine. But the second thing is, you know what? You could just ask them for advice, and they don't have to be explicitly with the title mentor. Just have people in your life that you can just ask questions to. Hey, you mind if I ask you something? You know, I've been struggling with this lately, and I wanted to know your opinion, and then you share your experience, and then they can give advice back. So I think that you definitely need mentors in your life, but they don't always have to be such formal partnerships or something along those lines. Let's see what else. Okay, so I'm having a handful of comments of people asking about what podcasts and what audiobooks do I recommend. If I see the challenge with this is that I'm using my phone to live stream, so I can't pull up my list. Let me pull up my Audible account, audible.com. Let me sign into my account, and I'll share with you guys some of the books that I'm listening to right now. Okay, so my library of books that I've ordered recently. I am going through a book. Actually, I'm reading it at the same time. The book's in the other room, though. I am reading a book and going through the audiobook at the same time. It's called Encounters with Jesus by Timothy Keller. If you don't know him as an author, he's got a lot of really good stuff. So that's a really, really good one. Another one that I'm listening to right now or reading is called Minimalism, Live a Meaningful Life. And it talks about kind of like paring down from the things in life that don't really matter so you can focus on the things that matter a lot more. Another book that I haven't started yet but was recommended to me by a friend is called The God Ask. And that's kind of more on fundraising and stuff like that. But that's kind of what is on my most immediate list. Let me see if I can go through some books that have helped me in the past. I'm looking through my history of books. Okay, so I've recommended this in other videos. Mere Christianity is a really good book, especially if you're new to Christianity and you're quite trying to understand what is Christianity all about. This is a really good place to start. I would suggest that one. And there's there's different audio Bibles. I listen to an audio Bible called The Word of Promise, and it's kind of a little bit more of like a dramatized version of a Bible, and it's pretty cool. So I would definitely suggest that one. Yeah. Rachel is saying John Jorgensen's podcasts are really, really good. I haven't actually heard any of his podcasts. I watched some of his YouTube stuff, but I haven't heard his podcast, so definitely check that out. I think that would be good. I like a lot of his content, so that's pretty good. Awesome. Let's see. Hey, Julie. Thank you so much for the super chat. I really appreciate it. That's really nice. Hey, Justin, keep it up. We'll do my best, Julie. Good to see you. Darian's asking, can I repeat the last book from Audible you mentioned? So I mentioned a handful. Mere Christianity by C.S. Lewis was one of the recent ones. And then the other one was an audio Bible called The Word of Promise, published by Thomas Nelson. And if you guys are new to audiobooks, you guys can go to audibletrial.com/thatchristianvlogger and you get a free audiobook. And which is pretty cool because the Bible that I just recommended, The Word of Promise, it normally sells for like $50 or like $75, depending on when you buy it, and you can get that book for free on online, and it's a really good Bible that I would suggest. Let's see, checking out other stuff. Okay, there's a lot of really good suggestions for podcasts and YouTube channels in the comments. So Ask John Piper, The Bible Project, Exploring My Strange Bible. Good suggestions, good stuff. Let me see if I'm missing any comments. Okay, Mia is asking, how do you manage a Christ-centered relationship in college and also in high school as well? I mean, there's a lot that you can say about that, but I would say you want to find a partner, you want to find a boyfriend or a girlfriend that has similar values to you. And so that way you can integrate your faith with the other person. And so, you know, you can go to church together, you can go Bible studies together, you can go and you can serve together and do like volunteer work together, that kind of stuff. I think if you find someone like that, then it makes it a lot easier. If you find someone in your life that is not a Christian, or maybe only a Christian in like words, but they're not really like living the lifestyle of a Christian and not really following God, that makes it really, really difficult. And this is why the Bible talks about how challenging it is to be unequally yoked. And so you want to find someone that shares those values with you. And then it actually becomes not like a challenge, it actually becomes a joy because you're doing the things that you love together. Mickey Minnie says, I was looking for a Christian club at a junior college, and then you attended a Bible study but couldn't find the translation they were using, and they said that they use the translation because it's more professional. I don't know, it sounds kind of sketchy. I don't know that it matters too much which Bible translation you use, and I know that that's an unpopular opinion. Some people feel very strongly that that's not the case. But you know, maybe just check out another Christian club. Just explore a little bit in the same way that you wouldn't just become a member of the very first church that you ever attended in your whole life necessarily. Not that it would be wrong, but you want to kind of check out what are some of the other options. So yeah, that's definitely what I would suggest on that. What translation of the Bible am I currently reading? I currently am reading through the English Standard Version. Jamel Harris, how can you start a Bible study group? I think a better way to do that is to work through your local church and to find like your youth pastor or another pastor or something like that and say, I'm interested in starting up a local Bible study group. Can you help me with that? They may or may not have the time to do it. I know pastors are usually very, very, very busy, but let's say that they couldn't help you. One other approach I would say before just trying to start something like all by yourself, I would suggest that you go and become a part of a Bible study group instead of starting your own. So that way you get to see what is it like, how does this person or how does this group run their Bible study group, and so you can learn from them firsthand. So I would say that's probably a better way to do it. Abel, thank you for the testimony. Abel's kind of referring back to something we mentioned earlier. He says, I started to rest in a day too, or keep that Sabbath, because I was almost in burnout last year. And no joke, I do things in half the amount of time because I feel that I had one day less. So my study is like 10 times more efficient. Yeah, exactly. For whatever reason, when you honor God with the Sabbath and you spend time with Him, it makes everything else that you're doing much more effective. That's been my experience as well. And so, you know, even though you have a large course load, you got a lot of homework to do, making that time and carving out that time as often as you can to spend time with God is still very, very, very important. Good stuff. Any recommendations for Bible commentaries or Bible study help books? One thing that I would suggest is you check out truthlink.org, and they have like a whole series of free Bible study guides, and I would suggest that you check those out. That's a really good place to start for studying the Bible a little bit more like systematically. Rachel says, I find it really hard to concentrate even though while you're keeping the Sabbath. Yeah, no, I mean, that's true. It can be hard. But I think that's something that you get better with over time and you get better at with practice. So just keep on working on it. When I was first trying to do that, like keep the Sabbath for myself and focus on spiritual things, what I would do is on Friday, the day before, I would try and be intentional about how I spent my time. So what happened is, this is really nerdy, but during that time of my life, I was really, really big into solving Rubik's Cubes. And like, even like when I didn't have a Rubik's Cube in my hand and I wasn't like trying to solve it, in my head, I had like a Rubik's Cube in my head that I was solving or something like that. And what I found is that when I was sitting at church, I was so distracted by the Rubik's Cube that I couldn't pay attention to the message. So what I started to do is on Friday, I decided, you know what? I'm gonna just not play with the cube then, because I find myself getting distracted. And having that window of time beforehand, kind of getting prepared for my Sabbath, that actually really helped me focus a lot. So maybe try and be intentional of what you're doing, how you're spending your time in those moments. Excuse me. Sinead is also saying the same thing. I've experienced academic success honoring the Sabbath. Oh, very cool. Great. The testimony. Do I think Christians can be MMA fighters? I guess they can. I mean, if it's something that they have with like a clear conscience, I think some people probably shouldn't, you know, if they have anger and frustration problems or any of that kind of stuff. But could someone be? You know, I'm open to the idea. I mean, I know that people are against violence and stuff like that, but I don't know. I'm open to the idea. I would be hesitant. I would never do it. I don't think that that's something that the majority of Christians can do, but could there be a Christian MMA fighter? I mean, maybe, I guess. I don't know. Haven't spent too much thinking about it, honestly. Toya, yes, Emily did go to Loma Linda for her master's degree program. Mm-hmm. Okay, here's a question. Any good Christian music that I could suggest? Okay, I'm going to be doing a giveaway in the near future. This is a CD that I would highly recommend by my friends over at the YouTube channel Set Sail. This is a band called Rivers and Robots, and they make awesome music, and they're YouTubers as well. So I would suggest you check them out. They're pretty cool. What is my favorite food? My favorite food, I like most Asian foods. I like Japanese food. I like Korean food. I like Thai food, Vietnamese. I mean, I love lots of Asian foods. That's obviously my favorite. Hillsong Young and Free as a good music group. Yeah, they're pretty cool. I went to one of the Hillsong churches in Australia when I was visiting Australia a couple of weeks ago, and it was wild. It was a fun time. I really enjoyed it. Jelly is asking, what do you do if your friends are influencing you to go against Christ? You got to evaluate those friendships. You know, Jesus says, if your hand offends you, cut it off. If your eye offends you, pluck it out. Not that you like start chopping off hands and killing people or something weird like that. But the point is if the thing is harming your walk with God, you got to evaluate, is it worth keeping around? And that's something that you got to think about with friends. If they're leading you away from Christ and it's the influence is too strong, that might be something that you got to consider, is finding new friends. Yes, the band that I suggested is Set Sail. That's their YouTube channel. The band is entitled Rivers and Robots. Headabox Maddie, what's the best thing that you can do when you're new to Christianity? Getting involved with the local church, fellowship and worship with other believers who have been there, who have done that, who are kind of a little bit further along in their spiritual walk with God. That's super, super helpful. Do I think small groups at university are necessary? Necessary is maybe a strong word. Valuable, absolutely. Should you do it? I think so. Would I feel comfortable with someone trying to be like having a strong walk with God at the university without attending like a Bible study or a small group? I think it would be very, very challenging. That's why I think that you should do it. But I don't think it's necessary on that, like the strict definition of the word necessary. Sinead McWeeny says, what do you find helpful when making decisions? I want to include God in those decisions, but I often get confused and find it difficult to find out what he wants me to do. So 2 things, prayer and patience. Those are the 2 things. You got to pray about it consistently, seeking God's will over your own will. And then the second thing is you just got to be patient. Got to realize that God gives you answers on His timeline, not yours. And sometimes that can be frustrating. That can be challenging if you're an impatient person like me. But prayer and patience are the two things that I would suggest for you. Let's see. Rachel asks, how else do you stay focused in church or during worship times? Two things that you can do. Number one is take notes. I find that if I'm taking notes during a message or a sermon, I retain a lot more and it's a lot easier for me to be focused. If I'm not doing either of those things, my mind just kind of like wanders. I have like massive ADD. So taking notes really helps me to focus on the message. The second thing that I would suggest is, you can turn off your phone. Chances are that's probably the thing that's distracting you. You can turn it off if that's the case. Oh, another thing, the third thing that I try to do with the third thing that I try to do when it comes to staying focused in a message that actually helps me. It's a little bit weird, but I do it. I stand up and I walk around the church while I'm listening to the message. Not like in a distracting way, or at least as little as a distraction as possible. Instead of sitting in the pew and just getting distracted and falling asleep or something like that, I'll stand up, I'll go to the back of the church so I'm behind everyone so I don't distract that many people, and I kind of just pace back and forth as I'm listening to the message. And for me, that helps me focus a lot. Are short prayers okay? Jelly's asking, if you're at dinner and you're about to pray and your prayer is only 16 words, is that okay? Yeah, absolutely. The shortest prayer that I've ever read in the scriptures is when Peter was walking on water, then he started sinking into the water. He prayed a prayer that was only 3 words, Lord, save me. So yeah, I think that would be totally cool. Let's see, what else? Sorry, I'm looking at my computer real quick. Any other questions that you guys got? Jennifer, how do you encourage students to attend a Bible study? I attend a university in the Middle East. Last year you tried to start one, but the turnout wasn't that good. It often gets busy at a medical school. Maybe instead of starting one, try to support one. So maybe there's a different Bible study that maybe you're not leading, but you can certainly become a part of. Check out maybe someone else's Bible study group and support them. So if you're dealing with that struggle, chances are that there's other people that are also struggling with that as well. And so maybe you can be one of the supporting cast on a Bible study. That way it's less work for you and less work for that other person as well. Paige, oh, thanks so much. Paige says, I just signed up to become a patron. Thank you so much, Paige. That means a ton to me. Be sure to join the private Facebook group on Facebook as well, in case you ever have any questions that you'd like to reach out to me personally. Love to chat with you. But if you guys are watching and you don't know what a patron is, it's a website where you guys can support this channel, this ministry, and so I can continue to make great content for you guys. Patreon.com/thatchristianvlogger. Kent Peterson, if school bully hits you, is it okay to hit back as a Christian? If it's self-defense, if they're going on to just straight up attack you over and over, I think that within the Christian paradigm, self-defense is something that's okay. But I try to de-escalate it from then resorting to physical violence as often as you possibly can. I think as Christians, we need to only ever resort to some kind of physical altercation as a last case scenario. And even then, you can still choose, and I think a lot of people do this, and I think there's value in it. Some people choose to follow the example of Jesus on the cross, where you don't even retaliate at all. So, different situations, different scenarios require a different response, and so it's hard for me to know exactly what's going on in your scenario. So I don't know. That's hard. I'm sorry if that's what you're experiencing. If you're experiencing bullying, maybe talking to the appropriate overseers, like the teachers at the school or something along those lines. But hopefully you can get that resolved. Julia is asking about my thoughts on speaking in tongues. I've done a whole video on that. You can check that out. Abel, same thing for you. You're asking about how to know God's will. I've done a whole series of videos on that. You can check those out as well if you'd like to have more information about that. But yeah. Am I ever going to do a shout out on YouTube? I do shout outs fairly regularly on different channels. So just depends. What time is it right now? You said it's in 9:46 in Romania. It is 11:52 in Washington State. Excuse me. My nose is like super itchy right now. I don't know why. Let's see. Reading through any other comments. Can God make a ministry on YouTube? Yeah, I would think so. I think that that's kind of what my channel is. All right. Well, it seems like our questions are coming in at a slower pace, so I guess we'll probably just end the live stream in the next couple of minutes. If there's any last things that you guys want to chat about, let me know. If not, we can just end the live stream right now. I'm excited tonight after Emily gets home from work. We're supposed to shoot a video together. So we'll have her. She is thinking about starting her own blog, not a video blog, but like a written blog. And so she may, in fact, do that in the next couple of weeks. We'll see. So give her encouragements when you guys see her, if that's something that you'd be interested in checking out. But yeah. All right, cool. Well, I'm going to end the live stream here. Thank you guys for hanging out with me. If you are new here, consider subscribing to this channel for more content. And if you want to be a part of the next live stream that we have, be sure to hit that bell notification down below so that way you can be a part of our next live stream. I will be uploading a video this afternoon. So definitely check back for that. And the video subject that is being uploaded right now are 3 lies about finding your calling. And so I'm going to be sharing with you guys, I think, 3 mistakes that people make when it comes to trying to find out their calling in life. So you guys can check that out video. It'll be up in the next maybe hour or so. But check out that video when it goes live and let me know your guys' thoughts. But again, thank you guys so much for hanging out with me. As I like to say, until next time, I'm that Christian vlogger, and I want to encourage you to experience faith in the first person. God bless.